everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
You can't even get a seat at the table. Okay, Mary, do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum, sir.
Okay. If we could quickly go around the room for introductions real quick. One thing I want to say, we are going to try to stay on schedule today. We are running a little bit behind. We have a very heavy agenda. As far as the public comment, there were 5 people that signed in. There are not agenda item topics listed except for Mr. Nowacki. The other 4 public comments and other are not acceptable agenda items.
Sir, they're on your agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, though, you said agenda items. Those items are on your
You're
agenda.
out of order.
No, I'm not.
Teresa?
I'm quite correcting your mistake.
Have a
Should I
seat, please.
continue? Should I continue, Pat?
Have a seat, please.
You said public comments could be on any items on the agenda. Those items are on your agenda. Take a look at item number 2, public comment, and then other business.
Okay.
How precisely is one comment about something unless you know what you're going to say?
I'm asking you to have a seat.
I know you are,
Teresa.
sir, and I'm not going
Respectfully,
to. Respectfully, I ask you to give people 2 minutes to make the comments that they signed up for.
Okay. I've made my decision.
And I'm going to make my comments. You can do whatever you need to do.
You're out of order. Please have a seat.
NERC's website says that you act as a public forum. So it's interesting to see the lengths that you will go to prevent anyone from the public from making a comment. Now, you used to allow public comments at the end, so that people knew
I'm
what you were
asking you
talking
to have a
about.
seat.
I know you are.
Then please remove yourself from the room.
No, sir, I will not. You can, which usually meant that by the time anybody made a public comment, your members had left. I heard that you're going to arrest me. This thing is really.
Call this meeting to
You go right
recess
ahead and
for
do
2
what you need
minutes.
to do. Now you put the comments at the beginning, which requires people to be clairvoyant to know what you're going to
We
say.
have a recess for 2 minutes.
So I'm going to be arrested. So I continue.
Under the agenda item that you would like to speak in regards to transportation. So you have and
That's not an agenda item. I would have been happy to put transportation down
you
if
did
that's what you
mention
wanted, so I'll put that
transportation.
down.
So if you can speak on
What
transportation.
is that on the agenda? I'm sorry. Is it on the agenda?
Go ahead,
Transportation?
Mr. No,
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, as you are all aware, last year you passed a resolution conditionally approving the reauthorization of the RDA contingent upon the financial conditions being essentially the same. And then further, the commission took the position that in light of the state legislature, the Senate bill, that you would support the conditional approval of reauthorizing the RDA based upon the new funding formula, with the caveat that money be used for just the South Shore Railroad and buses. It was a very reasonable accommodation to the interests of the state and the federal government to expand the South Shore Railroad. It appears that in the wisdom of the state legislature that they saw fit to ignore the reasonable expectations of the elected officials and representatives of the cities and municipalities in Lake County and the region here, and have simply proceeded to change the formula for funding the RDA. And I attend the NICD meetings. One of the things that NICD is very interested in is closing stations in Lake County. They're interested in diverting the ridership from the existing line to the new line. I think all of these things fly directly in the face of the 2040 plan and the obvious interests of all of the parties in the northern part of the county, Lake County. So I'm going to hope, by reminding the council of the important actions that you've taken in the past, that if you're serious about these things, then you're going to have to take another step. And that means you're going to have to take some sort of, you're going to have to hold the state legislature accountable for, I think, their irresponsible actions, and speak for the citizens of Lake County and the region, and tell them that in light of these changes, that the board of NERC and the residents that you represent cannot at this time support the reauthorization of the RDA with the present formula. I think this is, you've given them 2 shots, you've been painfully reasonable in light of the poor performance of the RDA in the past, still putting out the olive branch, but in the face of this, I'm going to urge the committee that has responsibility for that to take a stronger position and object to the reauthorization of the RDA next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, we have an introduction
Mr. Chair, I would like
of the
your record to
Northwest
reflect
Indiana
that I made a
Forum
request to
Executive.
comment on agenda items, and you refused to allow those comments. May I ask you to put that in your agenda, in your record?
No, we have a heavy agenda.
Specifically what I asked to
Okay.
speak to. That's what I'm asking you for.
Okay.
We did record the exchange. Thanks ever so
Introduction-
much for being open to the public, sir. You've accomplished your goal of trying to discredit us from the new people that are here. However, there are a lot of people
Okay,
out in
can we
the
have
public
the
that are aware of what
introduction
you've
of the
done.
Northwest
Litigation
Indiana
is
Forum?
available. Thank you.
It's enough.
Is it? I'm not done yet, though. I've got more.
Introduction of the Northwest Indiana Forum Executive Director, Heather Ennis, please.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
I'm Heather Ennis. I'm the new president and CEO of the Northwest Indiana Forum. First of all, thank you all for your service to Northwest Indiana. Serving publicly is not easy, and I appreciate the fact that you guys step up and do so. So thank you all very much. You probably all know my staff, Karen Lauerman, Don Kalbowski, Kay Nelson, Paula Mathis. They're wonderful people, and we are all here to help continue to grow Northwest Indiana. So use us as a resource. My intent is to get out and meet with the different cities, towns, mayors, whatnot over the next few months. But I did leave my card up front, so if I don't get to you as quickly as you would like to get to me, please utilize my card, shoot me an email, give me a call, and we'll get together and find out how the Northwest Indiana Forum can continue to help all of you as we grow Northwest Indiana together. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Heather.
I'd just like to add that Ms. Ennis was the director of the Duneland Chamber of Commerce for many years, and our community of Chesterton, Porter, Burns Harbor completely benefited in many, many ways from her skills and abilities and her public relations techniques, and she's just a great addition to the forum. Sorry that we lost her, but for the better good, she's serving at the forum. So
Yes.
I would say that my experience with her has just been outstanding.
Welcome. Ty, I believe you have a certificate of appointment from the city of Gary.
I do. The Mayor Freeman Wilson has forwarded a letter appointing Mary Brown to the NERC Commission this meeting, so good morning and welcome.
Okay. At this time, we have a presentation from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and for Northwest Indiana, Kathy Sateri from the Pollution Prevention and Technical Assistance is here.
Hello.
Welcome, Kathy.
Hi. Okay, let's see if I can remember how I'm supposed to do this. Okay. Like I said, I'm getting everybody's way in.
Okay, can we get the microphone close to you there, Kathy, so it goes through the system?
Normally I talk very loud. Alright. Okay, actually, let's put that back. Get rid of something. All right, well, thank you for having me here today. I just wanted to kind of briefly come here to introduce you to some of the program areas that may be of special interest to you, you folks as municipal leaders, and talk to you about the Northwest Regional Office so you're a little more familiar about some of the special things that we do there. Because in some way or another, each one of you guys have to deal with IDEM, be it because a business in your community is regulated or an activity that you actually do is regulated. You're going to be interacting with us in one way or the other. So again, kind of go over the programs within IDEM, how these programs may affect you, and your local IDEM representation. And short on time, so just going to jump right in and start talking about our Office of Air Quality. As many of you guys may know, we have air inspectors who go out and inspect facilities. We have permit writers who issue air permits to facilities who are regulated. And we have rule writers who help write rules to help improve our air quality in Indiana. One thing I kind of wanted to mention was we also have folks who go out and test our ambient air for a variety of different programs and for parameters. One of those programs is our National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So we have monitors across Northwest Indiana and various other communities in Indiana testing for some of the criteria air pollutants to see if we're in attainment for those standards. And unfortunately, Lake and Porter County has been designated as non-attainment for our 8-hour ozone. And what that could mean is that some businesses may find it a little bit more difficult to get permitted in Lake and Porter counties. They may have to have emission offsets. They may be subject to lower permitting thresholds. If they're going to have any sort of major modification for anything that would be considered releasing VOCs, they might have to go through some extra steps with that. And they may have to achieve the lowest achievable emission rate. And that's something our commissioner is working really hard with EPA on, trying to address that non-attainment designation. And it also, for those of us who have to get our vehicles tested every couple of years, that National Ambient Air Quality Standards is why we kind of have to do that, because we're trying to improve our air quality in Indiana. And so we're going to keep doing that here in Lake and Porter County. Just a little bit about permitting. So municipalities are going to be regulated just like any sort of business would be regulated. If they meet regulatory thresholds, they may have to get an air permit. And recently we have had to issue permits to some municipalities because they have emergency generators, natural gas boilers, and natural gas heaters of such a number or such a size that they exceeded those regulatory thresholds and they had to get an air permit. One rule that I wanted to kind of go over with you is our asbestos demolition and renovation rule. And just a little background, for any building, you have to have that building inspected prior to any sort of demolition or renovation that may disturb that asbestos. That includes some residential homes if they meet certain criteria. And then also if you're burning a home, for fire training, any asbestos in that home has to be removed. And for fire training, that's all asbestos, including floor tile, your mastic, roofing, felt, all of it has to be removed prior to burning it for fire training. IDEM has to be notified for any regulated asbestos abatement jobs or demolition jobs. But there's a little exception for that, and that's for residential homes or for fewer dwellings. But there's exceptions to the exception, of course, anytime you kind of deal with IDEM. If you have McDonald's, say, they're going to go demolish one home to build a new McDonald's, we're not going to regulate that demolition. But if they're knocking down 2 residential homes to build that McDonald's, then we are going to regulate it. The building's going to have to be inspected, and any regulated asbestos is going to have to be removed. Then the other exception, there are urban renewal projects. And this is very important for municipalities to understand. Basically, when a jurisdiction decides to demolish several homes over a planning period, and there's no set definition of a planning period, it could be a calendar year, a fiscal year, and it doesn't matter what the funding source, the number of funding sources are, just the fact that they intend to order a number of demolitions of homes over the year is going to subject them to being considered urban renewal, and they're going to have to follow the asbestos demolition notification and inspections. It doesn't have to mean that they have to identify the homes at the beginning of the period. The homes can be identified throughout the planning period. They don't have to be adjacent to each other. They could be throughout the municipality. So you need to understand if you're going to be looking at having homes demolished in your municipality as part of urban renewal, you're going to have to factor in the fact that those homes are going to have to be inspected for asbestos, and any regulated asbestos-containing material is going to have to be removed prior to that demolition. And you're also going to have to notify IDEM of that demolition activity. And then the last exception to that is if you have a perfectly fine home that, due to some factor, has a fire, that's not considered urban renewal if you have to demolish it for public safety. The other thing I wanted to talk about with our Office of Air Quality is open burning, because that's a common complaint we get in Indiana, especially in Northwest Indiana. Generally, it's from one resident complaining about another resident burning their leaves or trash or wood in their backyard. So, Indiana generally prohibits the open burning with some exceptions. The exceptions can include burning at farms, orchard, nurseries, tree farms, and cemeteries, and drainage ditches, as well as agricultural land that's located in unincorporated areas. Only clean wood and paper can be burned, and the burning has to take place in a non-combustible container that's vented to induce combustion, has enclosed sides and bottoms. So basically, this prohibits the open burning of leaves on the ground across the state of Indiana. Then in 1995, due to our air quality in Lake and Porter counties, we prohibited the open burning of wood, leaves, paper in Lake and Porter County. This is going to include the burning of leaves on the ground as well as in burn barrels. So there's no open burning in Lake and Porter counties. Across the state, we do not regulate recreational fires or ceremonial fires. So you can go ahead and have your backyard fire for your weenie roast or whatever. We're not going to regulate that. Municipalities can seek permission from IDEM to burn vegetation from natural disasters, but they have to get authorization prior to the burn. And land managers can also seek permission from IDEM to burn for land management. Again, the fire training, don't forget, we have lots of rules and very specific rules on what can be burned and what can't be burned for fire training. And then with any open burning, we do have a general clause that prohibits the burning of burn if there is creating a nuisance or a fire hazard, or if it's during unfavorable meteorological conditions with that. So I just want to move on now to our Office of Land Quality. We issue solid waste permits, we issue hazardous waste permits, we regulate solid and hazardous waste, and any generator, anybody out there who generates a waste could generate a hazardous waste that we would regulate, be it oil, waste fuel, fluorescent lamps, solvents from parts washer, lead debris from road work, water tower work, or bridge work, and spill cleanup as well. That could be regulated as a hazardous waste that you guys may need to think about in your daily activities. We also regulate the registrations for e-waste sites and other regulated waste sites such as compost facilities, municipalities included. We run our underground storage tank program where we work to make sure all underground storage tanks meet current standards for corrosion and leak detection, that they run their leak detection at least once every 30 days, and they have their UST operators trained to IDEM standards. We also have our various state and federal land cleanup programs under our Office of Land Quality. And one thing that I wanted to mention is something that has come to light recently is an issue with street sweepings. As we've been working with our Office of Water Quality through our MS4 program, they've identified that municipalities don't exactly know what they're supposed to be doing with their street sweeping. So we have come up with a fact sheet that kind of explains what their requirements are. And it's generally that you have to dispose of your street sweepings unless there's a plan in place for legitimate reuse. So within a minimum of 6 months after you collected those street sweepings, you're going to have to dispose of them, or you're going to have to work with IDEM to come up with a plan for legitimate reuse on those. A brief word about our emergency response program. Any entity, municipalities included, has to notify IDEM about any sort of reportable spills. Reportable spills depend on the material spilled, the amount spilled, whether or not it's on or off property boundaries, if it's to the waters of the state or the waters of the United States. Reported for certain spills to beyond property boundaries or the waters of the states of the United States, you may also have to report to the National Response Center. Problem is you may not always know what the reporting requirements are because it's different, depending again if it's on property, off property, to the water, not to the water, what kind of chemical it is. So my best suggestion is if you're not sure if you need to report that spill, give us a call and report it anyway. You don't get in trouble for reporting a non-reportable spill, but you can get in trouble if you were supposed to report it and you didn't. Additionally, facilities who have greater than 1,320 gallons of oil storage on site, and oil means kerosene, gasoline, diesel, they may have to develop a spill prevention, control, and countermeasure plan if they're storing that oil in containers 55 gallons or larger in above ground storage tanks. There's certain other criteria they have to meet, but just something I wanted to make you guys aware of with that. Many of you guys are familiar with our Office of Water Quality, either because you have a wastewater treatment facility, you're a regulated MS4 facility, they issue construction permits for sewer lines. We have our drinking water branch that works with over 800 community public water supply systems and smaller systems for businesses, churches, schools, and restaurants. It's also where our wetlands group is housed. But I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit more about some of the other things that they do. One of the things they do is determine if our waters in Indiana are meeting water quality standards. They do that via sampling, monitoring, and assessments of various reports. And they develop total maximum daily loads for waters that do not meet these water quality standards that we want. The TMDL reports are assessments of water qualities in rivers, lakes, and streams in a given watershed where an impairment may exist. It includes actions to restore the water quality. So water qualities in Northwest Indiana that have approved TMDLs include the Kankakee Iroquois watershed, Lake Michigan, the Little Calumet River and Burns Waterway, Trail Creek, and a TMDL is currently being worked on for Deep River Portage Burns Waterway. That's being done right now. And Section 319 of our Clean Water Act allows states with approved programs to receive federal funding that they pass through to local organizations to help fund projects to improve water qualities on these lakes, rivers, and streams. Most recently, IDEM funded the Deep River Portage Burns Watershed Initiative, which is being undertook by NERC right now. In 2012, funds were given to the LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District or Department for projects on the Trail Creek watershed. And then in 2011, Save the Dunes Conservation was funded for a project impacting Salt Creek. Just touch briefly on our Office of Legal Counsel and Criminal Investigations. We're lucky here in Northwest Indiana that we have a criminal investigator housed out of the Northwest Regional Office. And because he's so close to the Northwest area and so close to Region 5, he can quickly respond to alleged complaints. He works with EPA's criminal investigators to follow up on alleged activities. He also participates in the Environmental Crimes Task Force here in Northern Indiana, along with other federal, state, and local authorities and agencies. He's currently working on 6 active criminal cases, and he's investigating 3 preliminary cases of criminal activity. Okay, I want to move on now to our Office of Compliance Support, which houses many of IDEM's non-regulatory programs. Some of these programs work with businesses and other regulated entities to understand their compliance requirements, while other branches manage incentive programs and grant programs to promote pollution prevention, enhance recycling, and recognizing extraordinary initiatives. And I am actually the regional representative for our Compliance and Technical Assistance Program here in Northwest Indiana. The CTAP program was developed to help Indiana entities achieve compliance with environmental regulations. We work with regulated entities one-on-one to help them answer any of their compliance questions. So if they're unsure whether or not they're in compliance with something, they can give us a call and we can help them out. We can also help them out via email, and many times we meet with them on site to help them understand if their facility is operating in compliance with all environmental laws. We are non-regulatory. We have no enforcement authority, and we have a confidentiality mandate, which means if we do identify a violation, we can't report that person or that entity unless there's an immediate danger to human health or the environment. And to date, we've never had to break our confidentiality mandate. And additionally to working with entities one-on-one, we also offer workshops, online guidebooks, manuals, and we keep businesses up to date by posting rulemaking updates, featured topics, and compliance due dates on our website. I'm often asked if our compliance assistance program is just for businesses, and no, we help any regulated entity out there. Business, non-for-profit, large businesses, towns, cities, counties, and even state agencies we've worked with. Just recently, like I said, we've worked with several municipalities to understand the requirements for air permitting regarding their emergency generators. We work with them at attending conferences and meetings and one-on-one to get them into compliance. We're also currently busy promoting our Net DMR program. If you guys haven't heard about that, it's an online reporting tool for facilities who have to report their wastewater discharge reports. And basically, it's a good tool for them to use. It has kind of they can get their monitoring results in on time. There's greater flexibility on up-to-date reporting requirements, instant confirmation of their submissions. They don't have to wait for it to go through the mail. And it has like an automatic error checking system that's involved with that. Additionally, I represent our pollution prevention and recycling branch. We work with Indiana entities to promote pollution prevention and recycling through this group. The first one I want to talk about is our Indiana Clean Community Challenge. We work with municipalities to help them understand and minimize their operational impacts. We recognize those cities and towns who go above and beyond, who by implementing their quality of life plan are reducing their impacts to the environment. And we have the City of Portage and the City of Hobart are both Indiana Clean Community Challenges here in Northwest Indiana. Our Environmental Stewardship Program recognizes businesses that go above and beyond, and they implement goals to reduce their environmental impact. And the other group we have is our Partners for Pollution Prevention, which is really just a coalition of Indiana businesses across the state. They meet, they work together, they just discuss various pollution prevention concepts and topics. And then we also have our Governor's Awards for environmental excellence. We recognize entities for their exemplary performance in pollution prevention, energy reduction, recycling, reuse, and land use. Last year, Kruger Middle School was given the Governor's Award for their Science in the Sun Learning Center. In 2012, the City of Hobart, the School City of Hobart, and the Lake County Solid Waste Management District were given an award for their Hobart Recycles Education and Outreach Program. Portage, Valparaiso, and Munster have all won awards for the land use category. Also in our Office of Compliance Support, we have our Children's Environmental Health and Education branch. We have a 5-star child care recognition program. We work with daycare centers to help protect children from environmental threats. We offer our environmental education, and we work with schools mainly during the month of Earth Day to go out and give them education on recycling, air, waste, and land. And then we also have our Recycling Market Development Program. And unfortunately, we're still not offering grant dollars to municipalities and non-for-profits, but we do have our Recycling Market Development Program for businesses to promote including more recyclables into manufactured products. And in 2013, we released $500,000 to the Recycling Market Development Program and issued grants of $25,000 to reuse granite remnants from fabrication companies in Indiana. That company was actually located in Lake County. $200,000 to expand a glass recycling operation, $100,000 to expand operations at a C&D recycling center, another $100,000 for another C&D recycling center, and $75,000 to a company to develop our materials recovery facility. So if businesses are talking to you, if you know they're kind of doing something that may involve recycling or incorporating recycled content, you may think about this Recycling Market Development Program. It might be a good fit for them, and hopefully we'll continue to see grants issued through that. And now briefly, just going to go through our Northwest Regional Office. We did move last year from Maryville out to Valparaiso, but our coverage area is going to stay the same of Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties as our main coverage areas. Some of us do extend to other counties. And the first program is our Indiana Partners, the Partners for Clean Air program, where IDEM partners with other agencies like NERC for the goal of improving air quality through voluntary actions and education. Members of the Partners for Clean Air program develop air quality action plans with the goal of reducing pollution during air quality action days. You can sign up to be a member of our Partners for Clean Air and get automatic updates if there are air quality action days. And we also offer a pledge program with different levels of membership. We work with DNR, IDEM and DNR together with concerns about non-point source pollution coming from marinas. And we developed the Indiana Clean Marina program. This program recognizes marinas on Lake Michigan waters for protecting their waters by implementing best management practice. It could be something like installing a fish cleaning station or recirculating boat wash station. We currently have 4 designated clean marinas. Hammond Marina, Washington Park, Sprague Point, and Portage Public Marina are Indiana Clean Marinas. Our Lake-wide Area Management Plan, or LAMP, is a plan of action to assess, restore, protect, and monitor the ecosystem health of a specific Great Lake. IDEM's Northwest Regional Office houses the coordinator for Indiana's portion of the Lake Michigan Lake-wide Area Management Plan. Through various funding sources, including Legacy Act funding and the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, restoration is currently underway in Indiana's area of concern, which has been identified by the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement established between the United States and Canada. Our AOC includes the Grand Calumet River and the Indiana Harbor Ship Canal. An ongoing restoration work includes dredging on the Grand Calumet River. We have funding in place to track high sources of E. coli at Joris Park Beach and to work with the Army Corps of Engineers and other partners to come up with a long-term solution. Invasive species have been removed, where more natural stream flow has been created and native species replanted along sections of the Grand Calumet River, and habitat restoration is underway at the DuPont Nature Preserve and Gibson Woods Nature Preserve. Indiana beaches are a wonderful place for us to play, to watch wildlife, to fish, and to swim. Our beach program manager works with visitors to plan a trip to our scenic beaches across Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties. Through the Beach Act, our beach program manager receives federal funding, who in then turn passes along to communities who have beaches on Lake Michigan to test their water for E. coli. Those results are then posted on our Beach Guard websites, and residents can visit that website prior to leaving their home to determine whether or not that beach is posted for an advisory or if it's closed, and they can even find out what the E. coli levels were so they can make an informed decision before they ever leave their home. And that was a very brief rundown of some of the programs that I thought you guys might be interested in or of special interest to you. This here is all of our staff here at the Northwest Regional Office, and I just wanted to let you guys know that you do have representation up here in Northwest Indiana. And if you do ever have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to give us a call. That's why we're up here. And if you have further questions, that's my contact information.
Thank you, Kathy. The information you provided, those PowerPoint, would that be available to our NERC website if any of the commissioners want to download it for their staff?
Yes, I think he actually is on the hard drive on here now, so
Okay.
you guys can, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, solar grant update, Kathy Lindsay.
I want to keep this really short. There's a whole article about the solar grant, Solar Ready project in the newsletter, so I hope y'all will read that. We've had 2 stakeholder meetings where we brought in representatives of the solar industry and a handful of municipalities, and Porter County was there to talk about being solar ready. This is a grant from the National Association of Regional Councils. We're really excited about. There's a lot of opportunities in solar for both energy savings and job and economic development. This thing is to get municipalities ready. So some of the priorities we're going to be looking at having trainings on soon will be solar ready zoning, solar ready permitting, and maybe some bulk purchasing for a solarized program. I'm a little scared of that, but people were real excited about it at the meetings. So please stay tuned when we announce some of these training sessions, and I hope you'll encourage your planners with regards to the zoning, or your building department staff with regards to permitting and inspection to participate in the trainings as we go forward, because it's a great opportunity to support industries in our region like Fronius and others that are manufacturing these products. So.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Okay, let's move on to Commissioner Milo. Do you want to comment real quick on the committees to the commission?
I would be happy to comment, to make a comment on the committee on committees to the commission. That as I discussed at the, I think it was the February meeting, that we talked a little bit about a discussion we'd had at the NARC conference in DC, looking at some of the makeup of our different committees, which then kind of created a larger question of sort of how the committee process is working and where the membership is coming from. And so we met a couple weeks ago on a Friday afternoon amongst the NERC staff to kind of touch base with them on some of the different committees that they're working with, some of the challenges that they've seen with the processes. And what we discovered from that conversation was that I think this is the first part of maybe a little bit larger discussion. And so the sort of homework item that some of the staff had from the discussion was to put together a list of all the committees that exist. And then we're going to take all of those different committees and then identify those, make sure that everybody is aware of all those different committees, and then sort of create a flow chart of where all those committees fall out, and then look to see if there's an opportunity to create some efficiencies, some clarity in the process that's being utilized. And from there, we'll go into probably some next steps of how those committees are being made up and some of the processes that each of those committees use to make decisions, and all for the hopes of being able to inform the commission with a recommendation on if there are any changes needing to be made to the structure. And so we're moving towards that. I think that I sent a message out to everyone inviting anyone that wants to participate that April 23rd, I believe, yes, April 23rd at 9 o'clock here at the NERC office will be the next meeting. And so anyone is welcome to come and participate in the Committee on Committees to the Commission. And we're going to, just as I said, go through some of those index cards to look at all the different committees. And another item that I did want to point out that I shared in the email is that we've had some students from IU Northwest that have been participating in the different committee meetings and that are working with some professors to sort of give a report on how the committees are informing NERC, and NERC is then working with the region for different regional type plans and policies. And so we're happy to have them be a part of the discussion and hope that they continue to participate in this process. And as we've identified that there are some things that we think we can improve upon throughout the process, and we're sharing that with them, that they may have identified that there's some things that we maybe need to improve as well. And so we certainly welcome their thoughts, and glad to have some different voices in it.
Very good. Okay, well, let's move to the report of the Executive Director, Taiwan.
Very good. Good morning. First, want to draw your attention to the newsletter. Latest issue is on the table. I can't recall whether I had mentioned this in a previous report, but the Creating Livable Centers program had now received an award from the Indiana chapter of the American Planning Association. So this is a major implementation step from the 2040 plan. You'll see listed on that front cover the 7 communities that were awardees from our first inaugural awardees from this program. So thanks to the Commission for approving the program and for the committees that worked on this to help develop it, and to staff to doing it. Very well deserved. This really puts our money where our plan is, so to speak. You'll see a highlight in there also on the Solar Shot program that Kathy was just talking about, and profiles of our new staff member Scott Weber and Representative Ed Soliday on the back page, and as well as our certification review report. Inserted inside, we had permission from the Times to reprint an article that I was asked to write as part of the Times 5 Ideas for a Better Northwestern Indiana series that they published on May 9th. So we reprinted that here. But I would encourage you to go to that website listed on there to see all of the contributions if you did not previously see them. One of the things that I was really actually inspired to see is that without any kind of colluding on what the content of those articles were, they were very much in sync with everyone they asked to write those articles, and I think that is exciting for the region and moving forward. So commend the newsletter to you. Just to underscore, the Committee on Committees to the Commission is a much needed process, and I think staff's actually excited to be able to look at these afresh as well. Also very excited, we have the office lease coming up later on the agenda, but very happy to get to this point, and we'll talk about that more at that stage of the Finance and Personnel. Steve Strains and I believe maybe some other staff, I'm not sure offhand who else going, will be at the American Planning Association National Conference coming up here at the end of the month. So we'll be participating with planners, about 5,000 across the country. Need to switch for a somewhat serious note. This is a word for communities that have projects. It's been conveyed to me. NDOT is very carefully looking at these quarterly tracking meetings that we've been asked to conduct, that Gary Evers is a part of back here. And I've just been asked to underscore that if some communities apparently have not participated in those, and that's my understanding, and those projects could be at risk if the participation is not coming from those communities on those quarterly tracking meetings. So they are very, very important for the sake of your projects to participate in. There's a lot of discussions with NDOT that I think is good in terms of overall coordination that we've been having on the MPO council level. This is one of the things that has come up. So I just want to underscore the importance of those quarterly tracking meetings and having. That's pretty much all I have, except to remind you that there is an executive session meeting right after this meeting. It will be brief, but just to update you on pending litigation. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
Okay. Let's move on to approval of the minutes for the March 20th executive board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. There's no discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's move to finance and personnel. Chairman Jim Pund.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance and Personnel met this morning, and in addition to our regular order of business on the agenda, which you will find in your packet, the Finance and Personnel is requesting 2 actions this morning. The first one is on page 7, and it regards the MS4 project revenue. We have an additional $27,000 that remains allocated from our partners, communities that belong to the MS4 program. We need to put that $27,000 back into the coffers of NERC so that they can be redistributed or used in different fashion. I would make a motion that we make that a budget amendment at this time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second action item is one that we spent considerable time on in the F&P committee. We did invite our IT provider to come in, give us some counsel as far as the connectivity issues, and make some recommendations on that. Won't go into detail on that because it blends into or melds into the contract itself. The building lease contract has been distributed, and it was discussed again this morning. It has been discussed several times and revised, and at this point we feel that it is acceptable, and we have a unanimous recommendation from the Finance and Personnel Committee to recommend the passage of the building lease contract.
Is that a motion on your behalf?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Mr. President? Just a comment to maybe our attorney. The lease is made out to Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission. Is our name Northwestern Indiana? So that's found on page 1 in the opening page, and it's also called Northwest on the signature page 41. So I'm not sure if that's an item that needs to be.
That item was noted and was asked to be corrected.
We'll need to change that.
Yeah, it was noted. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question for how the new arrangement's going to be, because we're going to share offices. NERC staff's going to share offices in the forum, correct?
Yes.
And, I mean,
Well,
that hasn't happened.
space, a space within the.
Right, so are we moving over on that side, or are they moving over on this side?
If I could, great question. Let me direct you to answer your question. That board, I know it's very small from being able to see it from here. The important thing with that board is the color shadings, the actual details of those, of the build out on that board. If you're all going to go up and look at it after the meeting, but that's yet to be finalized. It's the shading that's the important thing. That attachment is part of the lease and lays out the square footage for each part of the building. The area where the forum currently is that, Stephen, thank you for being like a game show person over there. That's great. Is that pink area that will be vacated, and City Portage will do lease it to whoever they want to. The area, what color is it? Brown, if you can point to that, is the area where the forum moves into. So that is our, thank you so much, is that entire space where we are now, the forum comes into that space with us, but there are two separate offices still with two separate entrances. So the brown area is the forum, the green area is the area that NERC is responsible for, thank you, Stephen. The yellow area, that you'll see in the lease as shared space with the forum and NERC. That is the replacement for what we currently call the Packer Room. I can't guarantee it will have the same colors. Sorry, Steve, that it's strange that it may not be the Packer Room anymore, but that will be an executive level boardroom shared between the forum and NERC. So the NERC entrance is at the top of that yellow, or excuse me, the forum entrance is at the top of that yellow. They continue down the hallway to their office space, and then our entrance is on the corner of that green space there. The blue area is common area that the city of Portage maintains. So that's the arrangement. So we occupy that whole wing, but it's still two separate offices.
If I could mention that particular arrangement within the NERC green is still flexible, and it can be amended or adjusted as needed. That's not a fixed, done deal on that map. So if we find something there that doesn't work for us, we can go back to the architect and ask for adjustments. That was one of the questions that was brought up to the commission.
How much, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I imagine we're gonna save some money, Mr. Chairman, now that we're
Absolutely.
sharing space. Is there any idea how much we're gonna save per year?
I would say about 40,000.
A year? Nice, and it's a 10-year lease, right? Or
With the square footage, it's
$7 million for 10 years.
Yes. I want to say thank you to finance and personnel and all the staff, Ty and Attorney Hollenbeck, and everybody that worked so long on this and worked to get this to the finish line. I also want to say thank you to Mayor Snyder, who kind of put a little fire under those that needed to kind of get this thing finalized. Thank you, Mayor. And so it finally made it to some agreement form. So I do want to say thank you. I know there was a motion and a second. Who made the motion? Or you made the motion? Who made the second? I heard. Okay, just for the record.
One last comment?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll yield to Mr. Benson.
I just have a question about the high-speed internet, which was the #1 thing on the
Okay,
lease
we have
proposal.
spent some time on that this morning, and I'll elaborate to my limited technical ability, that the Comcast provider would be the one that we would recommend for that, due to the fact that they have upload, download, and they also have the cable installation included, and the other, I'm not going to name names, but the other providers could not match, and they were, by the way, Comcast was a low cost on that. So we feel our recommendation to go along with the lease. We have X amount of time, if the lease is approved, to notify the owners of which provider we want.
Is
And
there
so
a
we
time-
had to do that pursuant to any decisions that were made, so that we wouldn't delay any further in getting things up and running.
Is there a timeline on when it will be fast?
Yes, 90.
It's 90 days, and at that
90
point, there's actually a
Penalty, yes.
penalty if it's not.
They did agree with that. So, and I would say that by signing the 10-year lease, we have been added an additional amount of money for the building improvements from the lessor.
Just, if I could, just one quick comment on the internet. For those that care about this sort of thing or understand this sort of thing, I know staff is extremely interested in this, the Comcast proposal. What we put in the lease was a minimum 20 megabytes download, 5 upload. The Comcast proposal is 50 download and 10 upload, so it's, it would help a lot.
Is there any
There
other?
was a coax cable connection, by the way.
Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the F&P committee did a tremendous job and an extraordinary job, the staff as well, in accomplishing both goals that I think we set out at the very beginning. Was #1 was, I think I was in a bad position wanting to have less lease, having you take less space. But as a commissioner, I'm happy at the fact that you were able to save money on bequest of the Northwest Indiana residents, and then also put together a great structure and an amiable agreement. Good job.
Thank you.
All I gotta do is get our name right.
There is no further discussion. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Does that complete your report, Mr. Dunn?
Yes, that completes the report of the Finance and Personnel Committee. We will meet again next month at 8 o'clock.
Okay, let's move on. I'm trying to get us back on track, so I apologize. Transportation Policy Committee, I believe Commissioner Dolbus, are you going to do this report?
I will do it.
Okay.
The Transportation Policy Committee met on April 8th. We have 6 actions for consideration today. The committee heard a presentation from the city of Valparaiso on their roundabouts, those that had been built and future development. For more information about those, please contact Ms. Barloga. The first action is adoption resolution 1404 on page 47. Reimbursement of emergency expenses for local services on the Ileana Expressway. Commissioner Michael Griffin will describe this action.
Mr. Chairman and my colleagues of the Commission, I thank the Transportation Committee and I thank the Commission. Commissioners may recall that at the time that we undertook to consider and then take action on the Ileana Expressway as it came before the Commission, in consequence of that, I had offered on the floor at that time that essentially the sentiments that are memorialized in this resolution, deferring to what seemed to be consensus at that time to allow for it to be reduced to writing and to allow for a period of deliberation. It's now April, there's been considerable deliberation, at least there's been a period of time for that. I still hope that the Commission will favor this. Essentially, it's just proposing what any of us would want as local elected officials as a consideration if the state was undertaking a multi or a regional economic development project that impinged on our moral as well as our legal duty to provide public safety. This will be in an area that will have a fairly significant new burden of public safety demands that they feel if not legal, but certainly a moral obligation to meet. And all this basically is an expression of the opinion of us as a council of governments. We're allowed to opine as a commission, and this is what we're doing. And all we're opining is something that we should all feel comfortable with. In section 1, we're basically saying that there ought to be some attempt to make up for the loss of property tax base by payment in lieu of taxes under a formula that's described already in law. So we're not even inventing something new. That particular section of the statute deals with economic development pilots or payments in lieu of taxes. In section 2, we basically indicate that we'd like the governor, in terms of making the agreement that the law requires him to make with the operator, to also include the reimbursement to any of the local, state, or regional governments that provide services to that area in the way of a public safety response at actual cost. Those basically are reasonable requests, it seems to me. It's the sort of thing that every one of us would want if we had our local government impinged in this way. And I believe that simply opining to the governor our desire for reasonableness is a perfectly legitimate practice of NERC as a council of governments. And I hope the commission will favor it with a vote that's positive and adopt this resolution.
Chairman of the committee, the Transportation Committee moves for the adoption of resolution 1404.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard 2 voices. Who was first? All right. Is there a second? Okay. All right. Let's open it up for discussion. Are there any discussion in regards to this?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Strong.
I want to thank Mr. Griffin for authoring this. I'm sure he was involved in the writing of it. For those members of the commission that don't know, this runs through unincorporated township property, the Ileana. And what this simply means, because it goes through unincorporated, the local trustee is going to be fully responsible for fire and ambulance services. And the only way that they fund these services is by tax dollars. And it's going to be a huge impact on this rural community to have to fund these additional tax dollars. I would hope that the commission would support this resolution. I think it's very important for the community. I think it's very important for Lake County, you know, that we do this. And I thank the commission for hearing it. And once again, I thank Mr. Griffin for authoring this resolution. Thank you.
Sir.
Hi, Dick Ludlow, Town of Schneider. I agree with Commissioner Strong there, Councilman Strong. I sit on the technical task force with the Ileana, and this is one of the major problems, and I live in the footprint of this. It is a major problem. We only have 3 rural fire departments there, and they cover a terrific amount of area in South Lake County. And our local ambulance service is totally funded by the trustees, the Tri-Creek Ambulance. I would wholeheartedly hope that we would get some support from the state to help out on. We're having trouble now with keeping the 3 fire departments with enough volunteers to cover I-65 and US 41 as it is. I appreciate any support we could get.
Any other comments?
I would say, Mr. President, I would share the comments that were already made, being from a town that is responsible for I-94. We know the issues that are involved because it runs right through our jurisdiction, so we have incurred some costs, but managed to get around those with user fee. But at the same time, it should be, if this is a profit-making organization, that should be in the contract. Agree.
No other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman and my colleagues, I thank your goodwill and for your action on this resolution.
Next, Stephen Sesteric will present on the public comment report for 2 projects on the agenda for approval today. The I-65 add lanes and the Klein Avenue request and the NICD EIS of Michigan City Triangle request.
Good morning, everyone. You'll see in your agenda that we do have 2 public comment reports for 2 30-day public comment periods that we held. The first one is, as Commissioner Dova said, is for amendment number 4 to our comprehensive regional plan, as well as TIP amendment number 11. This covers the Klein Avenue Bridge, I-65 added travel lanes between US 231 and State Road 2, as well as basically amending an amendment, a previous amendment regarding State Road 49 in the town of Porter, and that's the CRP amendment. We had a 30-day public comment period between February 3rd and March 21st. That's actually more than 30 days. We also had 2 meetings, one on February 18th at Maryville Town Hall, another one on February 19th at the East Chicago Public Library main branch. We thank both communities for being gracious hosts and for being so helpful with all that. We had just a handful of comments and questions. Mainly it was a lot of curiosity, especially regarding the Klein Avenue Bridge, just to sort of see where things were with that and what was going on with that. We do also appreciate the help of the FIG group with getting some information to us as far as renderings and things like that, which were a big help and really helped to kind of illustrate what was going on. So that basically sums that up like it says here. We got about 9 comments. Excuse me. The allergies are catching up with me. We got about 9 comments in that comment period. The next one.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question about that last time? Sure. Sure. The Klein Avenue Bridge, could you give an update to the commission? Or somebody? Since we're talking about it?
I'll talk about that after.
I was going to bring it up and comment, but since we brought it up and we're about to vote on it, I think we should discuss what we're voting on.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a brief presentation after Stephen is going to be.
Okay.
And then the other comment report you'll find on page 54. It says draft, this is the final comment report. Nothing has changed since TPC voted with this. Basically, when they voted with their recommendation, it was pending a favorable outcome on April the 10th, so basically a couple days after the meeting. We got no further comments after TPC, so that just moved into being a final report. This comment period was regarding TIP amendment number 13, so that is funding for a draft environmental impact study for the South Shore expansion in Westlake County. as well as a 3-year CMAQ demonstration grant for what is being called the Triangle Service in LaPorte County between City of Michigan City, Purdue North Central, and the City of LaPorte. And then LaPorte County is also involved in that partnership. And then also CMAQ funds for 1 transit vehicle for that service. We held 4 meetings during this 30-day public comment period. One was a Saturday morning meeting, March 22nd at Munster Town Hall. And we thank you for being such good hosts, and also Commissioner Simonetto for coming and helping out with that. And then we also did a marathon day in LaPorte County, going to Purdue North Central, LaPorte City Hall, and Michigan City City Hall. Once again, all wonderful hosts. Thank you all for your help. I know Mayor Milo was helping us run cables and everything else in City Hall, so that was greatly appreciated. The response for the Triangle service was largely positive. People really recognized the need for it, and everybody's kind of ready for it to start, tomorrow. So they're ready to go for that. As far as the NICD project, a lot of the questions and concerns that were brought up, which are included and responded to in here, a lot of the things are going to be things that are going to be addressed in the environmental impact study. So it was it was kind of more than what we were looking at in terms of just funding the EIS. But we also had Jerry I'm sorry about that. Jerry Hannes was so nice as to also help us out at the Munster meeting, since we knew that the NICD project would be really fresh on people's minds. And so you'll see in the following pages the responses and comments. Both of these reports were distributed to the commission and have also been available on our website for folks to look at. So hopefully you all had a chance to look at it and take in folks' questions and comments. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Moving along, next, Ms. Barloga will present an overview of NDOT's request to amend the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan, including the Klein Avenue Bridge reconstruction.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll take a little bit of time to talk about the upcoming approvals that are before you regarding the amendment to our 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan and what goes behind all this. So first and foremost, what is on the docket today are 3 proposals: the I-65 lane widening, Klein Avenue Bridge, and a very, very minor kind of reestablishment of State Route 49 that is so minor it probably shouldn't even be recognized here, but I do it for formality. So here are the locations of the requests. The first one is I-65 here from US 231 in the Crown Point area to State Route 2 near Lowell. The Klein Avenue Bridge reconstruction here in the East Chicago vicinity. State Route 49 up near the State Park, Indiana Dunes State Park in Porter. So the summary of the request. First of all, the I-65 widening from 4 to 6 lanes between US 231 and State Route 2 near Lowell. The sponsor is NDOT, with an open traffic date set for December 31st, 2019. If you recall, back in December, we approved the widening of I-65 between US 30 and State Route 231. This continues it south. The Klein Avenue Bridge, otherwise known as State Route 912 in East Chicago. It'll be a 4-lane toll bridge, 2 travel lanes in each direction. The project sponsor is the City of East Chicago, with an open traffic date of December 31st, 2016. It's a private endeavor, and it has been added as a project of regional significance. It is not federally funded. We do not technically need to put it in our transportation improvement program, but we have done so as a matter of regional continuance, being a project of such magnitude. And the State Route 49 correction, reestablishing 4 lanes from previous request to 3 lanes, which was an administrative change last year. Let's talk about the Klein Avenue Bridge. This is a very busy map, so bear with me. It's a very busy area of our region, the Chicago vicinity. Here we have the Indiana Harbor Canal through here, coming in from Lake Michigan. As you can see, it's an older map. It's Natal, ArcelorMittal here that goes out into Lake Michigan, the Majestic, or what is it now called, the Maristar. very old. Actually, Majestic, here's the Mayor Star. And then the actual bridge itself here, located where the existing bridge was torn down just within the last year, the old Klein Avenue Bridge. The facility itself, as I mentioned, will be 4 lanes, a toll facility that will complete the connection there, what was torn down recently because of structural failure of the previous bridge. And again, it is a private endeavor, cooperation with the FIG Group and the City of East Chicago.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Of course. Go ahead, Mayor.
What's the toll going to be?
We don't know what the toll is going to be right now. We have no understanding of that.
Because the purpose of the bridge is to get traffic off of our streets, so the kids don't get hit by cars and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
If we put, and the toll is both ways from what I understand. So if I'm a steel worker and I'm going to the plant, I gotta pay to go to work, and I gotta pay to go home. And if I don't, then I'm still on the streets that we're trying to clear up, right?
Technically, you're correct. I believe it's going to be a fully automated toll facility. I don't believe anybody will be manned.
But if it's like $3 each way, that means every day these blue collar workers that go to the steel mills have to pay $6 to get to and from work, right?
If that is the toll, yes, sir.
Because if I was a steel worker, I wouldn't use the bridge. I would just stay on the streets and go for free every day.
Okay.
Which means that the bridge may not clear up traffic like we're trying to, right?
That is a possibility, correct.
I was just making sure.
Okay. All right, that is the facility. Any other questions while I have the Klein Avenue Bridge here? Okay, moving on. The prerequisites for the request today, or the requests, the congestion management process document that was approved by the Transportation Policy Committee at the March 11th meeting. The environmental justice benefits and burden. The report found no detriment to the environmental justice communities and no further action was required. Stephen just mentioned the public comment period that ran from February 3rd to March 21st. 4 open houses were held. The details already were talked about. And the financial demonstration, the constraint requirements were satisfied for the 2040 comprehensive plan. All of these have been satisfied. No further action is necessary. This is the chart. I'm not going to ask you to read it in detail, but it kind of outlines the process that we have to take on to amend our comprehensive regional plan and the steps that are incurred in here. You've already heard about the public hearing. We're talking about conformity determination, and Scott will be up here shortly to discuss that matter. And continuing through with the approvals, first at the April 8th TPC meeting, recommending the approvals that are before you today on April 17th. The TPC recommendations for air quality conformity, the analysis to determine new projects, stay within emissions calculations set by the EPA, and again, Scott Weber will talk about that momentarily. The amendment to the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan, and the addition to the TIP amendment, projects will not be able to move forward on construction phases without TIP inclusion. Again, that excludes the Klein Avenue Bridge, which is moving forward. And I believe that's all I have, so.
Mitch, can I say a question?
Of course.
So the vote on the Klein Avenue Bridge that we're going to take today is just sort of a ribbon. It's really not necessary because it's a private project.
Exactly, it's not federally funded.
So if I voted against it, it wouldn't really have any repercussion. I'd be just sort of expressing my displeasure with the fact that we have to pay for a toll to go to and from work.
Yes, sir.
But it's not going to affect the project.
No, sir.
All right, I'm going to vote against it then.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mitch. The
Mr. Chairman, I beg the Commission's pardon. I just want to indicate that, to my knowledge, did not go before the implementation committee. I would not delay the Commission's consideration of today, insisting on it. There's nothing in there that I think is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. But I did want to inform the deliberation of my colleagues that it did not get an opportunity, and that may be on us because we did a rescheduling. So in terms of the timetable, we would have made this have to wait longer if we had to go to us. But I did want you to be aware that that committee did not have an opportunity to offer a further opinion on this.
The second action is adoption of resolution 1411 on page 70. This is the air quality conformity determination of the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan and the FY 2014-2017 Transportation Improvement Program. Scott Weber will describe the action.
Good morning. Resolution 1411 refers to the air quality conformity finding that the Interagency Consultation Group on Air Quality, who met in January and February, drafted the technical report you see on pages 72 to 87. Kathy Satari mentioned that Lake and Porter County are non-attainment for the 8-hour ozone standard. They're also a maintenance area for the particulate matter 2.5 standard, and therefore they have to not exempt regionally significant projects that Mitch and Stephen talked about, the I-65 added travel lane, Pine Avenue Bridge, and the State Route 49 formality all have to be modeled as air quality conformity and determined to be below the emissions budgets and the motor vehicle emissions budgets in the state implementation plan. So tables 6 and 7 on pages 86 to 87 show the emissions results from that technical analysis that the Interagency Consultation Group on Air Quality performed. And as you can see, both in the base and the build case, the emissions necessary for both the ozone and the particulate matter 2.5 standard all fall below the budgets. I should like to clarify that base here actually refers to the demographic and employment projections without the Ileana Expressway, and the build actually refers to those projections with taking into account the Ileana Expressway. The Interagency Air Quality Group determined that we need to do both analyses for this. So that's why they're both included, but in either case, actually, they both fall under budgets. So if there are any questions, otherwise I would refer to the fact that the Transportation Policy Committee approved it at last Tuesday, April 8th, and requests that this full commission take the measure to adopt the approval here.
The Transportation Policy Committee recommends action on Resolution 1411.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Second. Commissioner Copeland or Commissioner Tunney? Commissioner Copeland? Okay, discussion?
This is we're voting, Mr. Chairman, we're voting on the air quality conformity. This is not regarding Pine Avenue Bridge.
Well, that's part of it, though. It is part of it.
So all these are all bundled together.
Yes. As far as the air quality.
Yeah, there's a separate resolution for the 2040 plan included for the air quality. That's this resolution.
So the one that Mitch was talking about earlier.
That's relevant to 1412. Right?
So this is all part of the same approval.
So we got the South Shore bundled up with the Pine Avenue extension, bundled up with 49.
We have the I-65 widening with Pine Avenue Bridge and State Route 49. Those are the three.
So if I wanted to vote against one, I'd vote against everything.
Yes, sir.
But maybe not on this particular.
Yeah, I think
perhaps it would be more appropriate, perhaps, on the action to include the project or not in the plan or within the TIF.
Pine Avenue Bridge is already included in the plan, though, right? In the 2040 plan?
It was an amendment on 1412, correct?
We took it out on.
No, we removed it. Actually, the action, I believe in August of last year, actually removed it as a transportation link within our transportation model and plan. So the action today is actually restoring that link back to our transportation model, which Scott has run, and back to our plan.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other discussion in regards to Resolution 1411? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The third action is adoption of Resolution 1412, which is on page 88. The fourth amendment to the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. Ms. Barlotta will describe the action.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I previously mentioned and already presented on, this is the formal amendment to the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan to include the I-65 widening, the Pine Avenue Bridge, and State Route 49. I've said enough. I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Dovis?
Ms. Barlotta, while he recommends, and the Transportation Policy Committee recommends action on this plan.
You have that is a motion?
That's a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't think in any other part of the state have a bridge of the magnitude of the Pine Avenue Bridge went down. I don't think there's any other part of the state where they would rebuild it as a toll bridge. For people that go to work, and have to use that bridge on a daily basis are gonna be looking at $6, $8, who knows, $7 to get to work and from work every day if they take the bridge. Call it a protest vote, call it what you want, but we're being treated different than any other part of the state.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have to respond. That is not a factual statement. Klein Avenue Bridge was originally built to haul about 100,000 cars a day. It's now estimated at 35,000 vehicles a day. The Ohio River bridges, which were part of the Ileana plan, both haul many, many more cars, and they are both toll bridges. So there were many, many meetings. This has become a political football, and INDOT said, look, here is a solution. Now, quite frankly, the people who are building the Klein Avenue Bridge are looking for $250 million of investment money right now. So for us to spend $250 million on a bridge of that volume is not going to happen. Not going to happen. It is not disparate treatment. And I'm getting a little weary of this. Northwest Indiana, and Lake County in particular, Lake County is the second highest recipient of state funds for infrastructure in this state. So, again, vote however you want. You want to build that project, we're going right back to where we were. The city of East Chicago agreed to this solution. They don't want it. The land has already been transferred. I can tell you, I don't speak for INDOT, but if Bob were in here, he would say the same thing, only probably more gently than I'm saying it. But those are the facts. Bob, I'm more than willing to have you correct me.
No, you're correct.
Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify something real quick. I just want to respect Mr. Saladay's comments there, that you're saying that we received the second most amount of money from INDOT. This was included through the major moves money, right?
No, this is in general spending.
But my point being is that when we sold the toll bridge up in Northwest Indiana, we became second of the amount of money that went south. We should have been first.
Again, that argument can go on forever, because the folks over in South Bend will say X amount, and 80% of the traffic, depends on which study you look at, on the toll road is not Hoosier. So Lake County didn't pay for the toll road.
Sure.
Yes.
You look at other areas that privatize toll roads, and they have restrictions, tight restrictions on when they privatize a toll road and you raise $1 billion. Most states that do this have tight restrictions on the area where that $1 billion must be spent. They try to keep it local to the toll road because that's where the tolls are being paid. For the next 65 years, we're going to be spending toll money on the Indiana toll road, and that money's already been spent, and part of it was spent on I-69 that connects up Evansville to Indianapolis. A lot of the major moves money went down there. These people that are going to enjoy the experience of a brand new I-65 are never going to pay more than $2 a year on the Indiana toll road. We will be. But our money went down there, so call me frustrated when one of our bridges goes down and we have to pay a toll for that as well. Call me frustrated. Call it, if you think that's equal treatment, Representative Soliday, I respect you very much. I don't. I think it's wrong. And I think if it's not gonna hurt, let's show them we think it's wrong and vote against this proposal. Because we're not being treated fairly. And that's our job, Ed, is to stick up for the region.
Mayor,
It's our job.
I can tell you, if you continue down the path,
I've already been down
you
the
are
path.
continuing down, it is going to do nothing but hurt us. If we, and I'll be happy, I have a letter to the editor being prepared right now showing where money has been spent here. So if you want to do this to Mayor Copeland, he decided for his community what the right solution was. Now, if you want to make this a political football, you can do that. But the only people who are going to get hurt, Mayor Copeland now owns that land. So we've been over this and over it and over it. Vote against it, fine. Nobody in the state is going to care for 5 minutes. So This is what the city of East Chicago agreed to, was a solution that was acceptable to them. I can go through the whole history for you. But you making some kind of a statement, you need to consider the unintended consequence to the region.
Mr. Chairman, so if I get this straight, if we vote against this, there will be repercussions. Is that an accurate statement?
That's not what I said.
That is what you said.
I said
That
that
is
if you
what you
vote
said.
against
That
this,
is
you
what
do
you
not
said.
have an approval
Vote against
for
it, there will
East
be
Chicago,
repercussions.
the bridge will
Welcome
not
to
be
Indiana.
built. That's it.
Let's,
Mr. Chairman?
okay, hold on. Mayor Copeland had his hand up first, and I'll come back to you.
It goes back to that old adage, just because you're big enough to do something don't mean you should do it. Mayor McDermott, you said more traffic will now come on the streets of the city of East Chicago because people are gonna say, we don't wanna pay the toll. Okay? If you don't put the bridge up, how more people gonna be on the streets of East Chicago? See, so it don't add up. At the end of the day, I love it when everybody say, let's talk regional. Can we all get along? Just let the foolishness stop today. That's what I ask my colleagues.
Commissioner Strong.
Mr. Chairman, I can appreciate the word from Commissioner Copeland. It is his community. But taking the politics out of it and looking at just a fairness, what is right, I have to agree with Commissioner McDermott. It's just a fair thing for East Chicago to not have to pay these tolls on this bridge for these steel workers. I agree 100% with what the man is saying. And no disrespect to Commissioner Copeland. I hear what you're saying as well, sir. But I think you are exactly right.
But you know, that goes against your earlier argument of the unfair burden that your community would get. The additional burden would be overtaxed, we wouldn't be able to support our stations, and you see, that's double talk. But yet you don't feel my pain, but you wanted me to feel yours.
If I may, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Copeland, I do feel your pain, and I understand what you were saying. My comments earlier were directed for the unincorporated trustees. They're gonna have to pay for those public services. Obviously, there's some more things going on involved here that I'm not aware of. I'm trying, my comment was to take the politics out of it and just look at the fairness of it. This bridge failed, and it should have never failed. I don't know what went on a few years back when it failed, but in my personal opinion, somebody should have went to jail. Somebody should have been locked up for a long, long time when that bridge failed. It should have never happened, and I'm disappointed that there was not some sort of investigation at that time where somebody faced some stiff penalties for it. I'm trying to take the politics out of it, sir, just like I tried to take the politics out of it on my earlier vote, and I'm just looking at the fairness of this entire situation.
Mr. Chairman, if we would take the politics out of it, the bridge would have been rebuilt as soon as it failed. If we would have taken the politics out of it, they would have rebuilt the bridge. It would never be a toll. And all due respect to Mayor Copeland, if I was in your shoes, Mayor, I'd probably do the same thing, because it's in your city. And I feel bad for you, because I don't think you should have ever been faced with that situation. The bridge should have been rebuilt from the get-go. If politics weren't involved, it would have been. Because this is a Democratic county, it wasn't, Mayor Copeland.
But we're at the point that the bridge can be put up. So that's spilled milk. Not only is it spilled milk, it done dried up. This is the only option to get the bridge back up that can have dire consequences to the Gary Airport. People coming in and out of our marinas, people coming in and out of our casino. I mean,
I agree.
Again, I concede to each and every one of your conscience.
Commissioner Benson?
As I understand this, the bridge, the contract, all of that is already done. It's moving forward, and our vote is more ceremonial than anything else. It's not federal money. It doesn't have to be in the TIP or the 2040 plan. It is to include it and embrace it. That's what Mitch explained, and so it's already a done deal, and the arguments that are taking place are arguments from before the contract, before that, and so it may be accurate that maybe we all wish that NDOT had just rebuilt it and that it had never failed, but the point is that the contract's been signed, the land's been transferred, it's already, that part's already done, and it's moving forward. And all that the TPC is asking us to do is include it in the plan. And
Mr. Evers, do you have any clarity on that? Any additional comments you want to make on that? Clarity?
Just that it does in fact have to be added to our plan. The tip is an optional matter because that deals with spending, but in terms of having the link restored to our transportation plan will keep us in conformity. If we are not, if that structure is built and the link is not restored to our plan, we are in violation of federal laws, not DOT, but EPA's conformity regulation. So that is the layout of the situation. What happens in reality is secondary to getting that link back in our plan. That is the most important thing here.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing, I'm sorry. And about the 231 to US 2, lane widening to 65, I think it's bad, okay? As a person who travels 65 south a lot, I think in the future, if NERC realizes that something may be controversial, we shouldn't bundle them up, because I have to vote against that now. And it should be two separate matters as far as I'm concerned. So I can vote for the 65 lane widening and vote against what I think is unfair treatment of the region. And we keep bundling these things up. And one day it may jeopardize an important project if we bundle it with something controversial.
Is there any other? Yes.
I mean, what's also kind of going on here is that there's a shift in how we pay for roads. It's really what's happening, because let's face it, money is very, very tight. And you're seeing just more and more roads being built with private investments and private, and at least it gives an option that normally wouldn't exist, because as Representative Soliday said, they're just not going to build a $250 million bridge for 35,000 cars a day. It just, the money is not there now. And we're seeing that all over with I-69, with Ileana. I mean, it's all going toll because user fees are simply becoming more of a way of trying to fund the infrastructure that we've not funded like we should have. So it's just part of the shift in the paradigm also.
Yes.
My question is, I don't care about the bridge being built. I mean, it's all yours, but it's just like Mr. Costa says, we are doing this nationwide. And nationwide, all these companies, 10, 15 years, they failed. The toll road, it's going, a possibility it could go under. What happens if this bridge can't get paid? Because it's like the toll road, the tolls have got so high that people, the only things that travel on that toll road are specific trucking companies that have to. The cars aren't on it like it used to be. I mean, I've been traveling that toll road here the last couple of weeks, and I just wondered.
Beautiful thing about that is they take the inherent risk of putting it up there, and then if it becomes unprofitable, then it reverts back. So in essence, you have to.
Is that what you're, in other words, that's what we're hoping? Is that what I mean?
No, but I'm just saying that's usually how business works.
Yeah, just to clarify, and Bob again can probably address or get you the information on actual travel on the toll road. But again, another political football, and immediately party names get mentioned and so forth. But the bottom line is the toll road lease, that lease is not available anymore. It's probably the best deal that's ever been made in this country. If the entities were to reorganize, that is a zero risk to the state. They spent $564 million additional dollars on the toll road, a large part of it in Lake County, because their due diligence did not identify salt barns, and particularly the Gary area where the bridges were rebuilt and so forth. If they were to this is not really a possibility, it could be a probability. They went bankrupt completely. We own the toll road, we keep the money. We own it. We just go back and maintain it, and we collect the tolls. That's what the contract says. We have zero risk as a state. Zero risk P3s are not available out there. The Klein Avenue Bridge is not a state P3. It is a contract to build a bridge. They maintain it, the city owns land and sits on it. So, all this mythology, if McGarry Centra were to fold completely on the toll road, they will just take it back over. We'll keep all the improvements. We'll keep the 3.8 billion. We'll keep the 564 million, and we'll go forward. And the $200 and some million mortgage is paid. That's the facts. So all of this, well, they all go bankrupt, they all do this, they all do that. Most of the world uses P3s. The United States does not, because we are a very minimal player because it becomes such political footballs. Rest of the world, they do them. So, believe what you want, that's the facts of the contract.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to divide the question between the 65 lane widening and the addition of the Klein Avenue Bridge to the 2040 plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's make sure we got clarity on this. The motion is, if you can repeat it
To
again.
divide the question between the I-65 lane widening, so that we can vote separately on that issue, and also the addition of the Klein Avenue Bridge to the 2040 plan.
I think there's some.
No, the conformity determination covers both together. We would have to re-prepare the source documents and run them through the approval process again individually. The plan, unfortunately, that's the way it was constructed.
But I have a motion in a second. So.
Point of parliamentary procedures, you have a motion with a second and you're in discussion.
That's
You
true, we
can't
did
make
have a motion and a
on
second.
top of a motion.
Okay.
The original motion and second to Resolution 1412 as it was presented.
I'm carrying the Transportation Policy Committee information. Right now, it would be for me as a single person to do that without the committee agreeing to it. That's where I am.
Let us get clarity real quick. Mr. Evers, did you have?
It all has to do with the document that's been put in front of you this morning. The document put in front of you this morning combines both projects together in the conformity analysis. If the request is to approach this cafeteria style with the possibility of one being voted up and one being voted down, then you would have to have the source documentation in front of you that would support either of those possibilities. And we do not have that before you this morning. So unfortunately, the options are with respect to this resolution to either send it back to committee or to adopt it. There are no other choices here. You can't bifurcate the one project from the other.
That's where I'm coming from. I don't think we can say.
There's a motion and a second.
Yeah, there is a motion and a second.
I call the question.
All right, let's bring this to a. I think there is clarity. We either need to vote in favor or vote down Resolution 1412. I think that's the issue before us right now, if I'm understanding Commissioner Dovis in his motion, Mr. Simonel's second.
The
So,
Transportation Committee made this motion and agreed to bring it to
Well, but you made a motion to approve.
Yes.
You made a second to approve.
That is correct.
So now we gotta make a decision whether to approve Resolution 1412 or defeat it. So with that, those in favor of approving Resolution 1412 as presented, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. I think it certainly passes with voice vote. Do you want to call for? All right.
You ready to move on?
Yes. We were on time until you took over.
What a guy. The fourth action is adoption Resolution 1413 on page 91, the 11th amendment to the fiscal year 2014-2017 Transportation Improvement Program.
12 is the one about amending.
What's that? Gary Evers will describe this action. Was there some comments on what I was saying?
I was confused. I thought we were just voted on 11, and I was told that we voted on 12.
That's correct. Now we're on 13.
Trying to play along. I can't.
Everything was going smooth until I came.
Thank you. This amendment adds the two projects mentioned into our transportation improvement program. The thing to point out on the I-65 project is that it's part of NDOT's Corridor 404 project, which includes also the Ileana Expressway, the added travel lanes from US 30 to US 231, as well as the segment that's being added here from SR2 north to US 231. The projected federal expense on this project is $54.7 million. NDOT, as indicated by the calendar, intends to begin construction before July of 2016, or 2015 rather. This is, thinking there was some other piece of information I wanted to mention on this, 8.5 miles in total length. The Chicago project, as was already discussed, is privately funded. We've been made aware that there's some enhancement activities that the FIG group is intending to work with the city of East Chicago on and constructing to enhance the appearance of the bridge. We've had some shots, I don't think we showed them this morning, of the structure as it's going to be lit at night, but truly this is bound to be a signature structure for Northwest Indiana, if not for the entire Midwest. We're excited to see a structure designed by this particular group come to our area because it is kind of a feather in our cap to have this particular company doing a structure within our neighborhood. As mentioned earlier, this project is entirely funded without public funds, being constructed on the right-of-way that NDOT has ceded to the city of East Chicago. My understanding of the lease agreement or of the agreement between the parties is that East Chicago will in fact receive some sort of fee per use of the structure. So for every car going over, some of that money will come back, some of the toll revenues will come back to the city for use in their transportation costs. No more to add on this, except that the open to traffic date is projected to be in about 1.5 years if all the financing arrangements can be made. The investors are lined up and construction begins on time. This project is being added only because it's a regionally significant project. Klein Avenue, SR 912, is an expressway. We don't oftentimes think of it like that, but it is in fact an expressway. And anytime there is an expressway project added within our area, it is regionally significant and it has to come before you for approval, regardless of where the money's coming from to build it. So that's in essence why it's coming to you this morning. It's because of a policy don't like to point the finger back at you, but you adopted about 10 years ago. So that's the long and the short of it. To be honest with you, you can in fact segregate the projects at this point if you care to, because you've taken the important action of adding this project to our air quality conformity and to our transportation plan. You may, it's truly optional whether you do in fact proceed to add it to the TIP, because it is coming. It is definitely coming. But again, it doesn't involve federal funds. It doesn't involve public funds at all. But it can be segregated because the TIP is a spending plan. It's not a transportation development, long-range transportation plan. So with that said, I'll ask for your consideration of this and be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Are there any questions of Gary before we? Commissioner Dobus, do you have a recommendation?
Well, the Transportation Policy Committee recommends action on resolution 14-13.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the fifth action is adoption resolution 1414 on page 94. The 16th amendment to the fiscal year 2014-2017 Transportation Improvement Program. Gary Evers will describe this action.
There's a brief list of NDOT projects that begins on page 90. 96. Big packet this morning. The first project is in East Chicago. This is bridge rehab or repair on the Cesar Chavez Bridge on US 12 in East Chicago. NDOT is proposing to put a new deck on that structure in fiscal year 2018. Second project is US 6 turning lanes, installation of turning lanes on US 6 at Old 49 in Porter County. A small bridge repair, bridge rehab project near in Dyer on US 30. A couple of bridge rehab projects, again on SR 912 in East Chicago. These are on the bridge over SR 912 that goes into the casino in the marina. There's a flyover ramp there that they'll be putting a new surface on, and then there is the mainline bridge itself that they'll be repairing. And those are the two projects back to back. And finally, another East Chicago project. This is on the last remaining segment of SR 312 within East Chicago, from approximately SR 912 to the Hammond corporate limits at White Oak Ave. These are significant improvements, ones that are greatly needed on this roadway facility. The last project in particular will complement the City of Hampton's rehab of this roadway that's scheduled for 2016. With that said, I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions? The Transportation Policy Committee recommends action on resolution 1414.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The final action, roll call please, is adoption of resolution 1415 on page 98. The 13th amendment to the fiscal year 2014-2017 Transportation Improvement Program. Belinda Petrosky will describe this action.
Thank you, Mr. Dobus. As you see on finally you reached page 100, there is a very brief list of the three projects which Stephen has described earlier. The Westlake EIS study, and then the two projects that will implement a long planned for and needed public transit service in LaPorte County. We were able to, after many, many years, get all the stars aligned and wonderful cooperation from a whole group of players over there including both cities and the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners, and Purdue North Central all at one time. So that was a long time coming, and we're all very excited about seeing that start. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to go into the EIS for the Westlake Corridor, if you don't mind. We have $3 million the cost of the study, right? It's gonna take around 2 years to complete, is that true?
Yes, sir.
And this is a required step before we could even approach the federal government about whether or not they're gonna fund the train expansion. We have to have this EIS done, correct?
Yes, but I'm not sure that in the meantime, there aren't also things that will be done also with FTAs.
But before they make
going
a
on
decision.
simultaneously.
But before they make a decision, though, this study needs to be.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Do you know, also, I'm sorry, Belinda.
That's okay.
City of Hammond offered $250,000 towards the study. Do we have the cost of the study covered, the $2.5 million that's left over?
I don't know, Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm not tracking the amount of money.
Does anybody know?
Joe Sirkovich is with us this morning.
Thank you. Mayor, yes, we do have that covered. It's about $3 million total and we do have all that secured for the study. We're hoping to get the study done by the end of 2015, and Ms. Petrosky is right, we do need to do this before we can actually go out for federal funding for construction.
Thank you, Jim.
Any more questions? Includes my report, sir.
The Transportation Policy Committee recommends action on this resolution 1415.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
I'd like to add just to what some of Belinda's comments were in her report, that I am very appreciative of all of the efforts that went into putting together this triangle route that's going to go between the City of LaPorte, Michigan City, Purdue North Central campus. That, just as she mentioned, this has been something that's been talked about for a long time, but haven't been able to get all of the players to come to the table to be able to participate. And I think that this is a good study too, that everybody has some skin in the game in this particular project, and we are all working together to make it all happen. And I'm very appreciative of all the different partners that have come to the table and been very willing to work towards this, and we are excited about the progress that's being made and the opportunities that are going to come forward. So thank you very much to everyone for your help from NERC and from Michigan City, Purdue North Central, and LaPorte County.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next meeting of the Transportation Policy Committee is scheduled for 9:00 a.m. Tuesday, May 13th, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Legislative Chair.
They've got the report. I imagine we'll probably get together within the next month or so. The legislature's out of session, so I know Representative Solon is back home. I always appreciate his counsel and advice on the committee. So probably get something going sometime over the summer so we can talk about our agenda for next year.
All right, thank you. Northwest Economic Development District, Mr. Allen, the chairman.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. First, I have a letter to read. The letter is from the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Administration, Chicago Regional Office. It's addressed to Mr. Roosevelt Allen Jr., the President of Northwest Indiana Economic Development District Incorporated. It says, "Dear Mr. Allen, thank you for the recent submission of your SEDS document. The Economic Development Administration appreciated the opportunity to review your 2013 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy document. We are pleased to inform you that the EDA's review of your SEDS document and process align with the regulatory and programmatic requirements, and your SEDS has been accepted by the EDA. The priorities and focuses outlined within your SEDS document will help form the foundation of how the Economic Development Administration reviews applications for public works and economic adjustment assistance programs from your region. We greatly appreciate the work of the Northwest Indiana Economic Development District Board and the SEDS Committee to develop this innovative, regionally driven economic development strategy. The Economic Development Administration looks forward to continuing to work with you to help support the goals and priorities outlined in your recently submitted Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and that's from Jeanette Tamayo, the Regional Director of the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. Also, I want to indicate that copies of this document will be printed and available to the communities and the Commission. Secondly, I'd like to indicate that we are still working on district status designation by the Economic Development Administration. Up to this point, we have received a supporting resolution from Lake County, Indiana, and from LaPorte County, Indiana. We're waiting to receive a support resolution from Porter County. And Porter County is set to discuss a resolution of their support on their April 29th agenda. Also, the Northwest Indiana Forum is working on securing a letter of support from the governor's office, which would be the final required document. Also, we have made some proposed changes to our bylaws, and as suggested by the Economic Development Administration, and we're waiting for a report and evaluation from our attorney respective to those bylaw changes. Once we receive those bylaw changes, then we will schedule a meeting of the Northwest Indiana Economic Development District. We're required to give the members of the board 2 weeks' notice to make any bylaw changes. So we have to give them 2 weeks' notice. As soon as we receive that information from the attorney, we will immediately schedule the meeting. I'd like to say, if there are any elected officials that are interested in serving the board, you should, on this board, you should contact Mr. Warner. And to indicate that, and this board serves all 3 counties, Lake, Porter, and LaPorte County. Also, we should receive our accounting review from the accounting firm within the next 30 days, and a copy of that review will be distributed to the NERC Commission. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Mr. Alderman, do you have any comments you want to bring to the?
I don't really have much left to talk about. After freeze thaw this winter and the way all the roads have come apart, I would make sure that you all understand that what we're doing right now is putting together a large group of emergency contracts in order to try to address some of the damage that's been created because of the winter. I'll be able to give you a better idea of the cost, and it's going to be extensive costs at the next meeting, but our whole staff and staff in Indianapolis is engaged in trying to get the plans out the door so that we can let emergency contracts. The highest impact area overall is Lake County, but obviously we do have damage to our highways and other areas. But I'll be able to give you a more complete report during the next meeting. I'm also happy to point out that in Amendment 16 that we just passed is the R&R for 312 in East Chicago that I've tried to get in place for Mayor Copeland for probably the last year, which I'll be using district discretionary funds to pay for. That's important to Mayor Copeland and his area, and it should be important to all of Lake County. Klein Avenue, as you all know, that project started. Thank you.
All right.
And we move forward. Obviously, to cover the cost of the emergency repair contracts is going to cost a lot of money. and basically to cover the cost of that, we're gonna take the little bit that we have and bet it on a sure thing in the Kentucky Derby. No, not true. But we're gonna push some projects around and such in order to come up with money to get these things out the door. We're operating in a very small window of opportunity to get this done. And we'll have a better idea of where we're at next month.
Very good.
I also very much enjoyed the banter between my friend and my friend. I think both people here are making an important part about the region, and both well serve the roles that they're supposed to serve in the community at large. We would not have that money coming from this legislature from the 2020 fund if it wasn't for Ed. And we'll always be better at what we do if, in fact, we have people pushing us to do the right thing.
Thank you. All right, there is no other business, so I do want to make under announcements, Mitch Parloga, if you want to grab your little flyer here, Mitch Parloga, you want to make a couple of comments on this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before you, or you should have at your table, a little card about cornucopia. Oh, thank you, Commissioner, appreciate it. Yeah, this thing, it's color copied. We're asking that if you have an RSVP for this event, that you please do so. It is our annual State of the Trails event. This year, Mayor Milo, who stepped out, is graciously hosting us at the Historic LaPorte Civic Auditorium. And there's a lunch, free breakfast, what's not to love. You get to hear about all the trail projects happening in the region, so we hope to see you there. You can either contact me by email or Secretary Meredith Stillwell here at NERC, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to, after adjournment, have about a 2 or 3 minute break, and then if I can have all the commissioners back in the room for a quick executive session, we do need to cover a matter. So I will at this point entertain an adjournment. So motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Be back in about 2 minutes.